Hi, my name is Ellie. Welcome to my channel. Yes, we're jingling a little bit because I'm finding jewelry I forgot I had, such as the bracelets I never wear because I'm normally wearing a watch for work. Sorry if this is going to annoy you, but I'm very excited I found it again. Yesterday, I did a video about some of my favorite ways to involve color in a more approachable kind of muted way, and I thought I would actually do a little tutorial on one of the color stories I talked about, which is from the Vice LTD Reloaded. I want to use Freak Show and Asphyxia, maybe a little bit of UV Blue, and probably Road Stripe. Just to do a little like purple, but not aggressively purple type look. And we'll see what happens with that. I'm very excited about people using more color and getting to experiment with their looks while we are quarantined and stuck at home more than usual, and maybe this will get some people out of their comfort zone and doing some new looks, or maybe if you just want to use purple in a not aggressive way. This is, in theory, a very approachable way to put purple on your eyes. It's one of the ways I see a lot of people involving color in a less in-your-face kind of way. I really like seeing in-between looks. Like, I do love, avant-garde, really, really colorful, high art style ways. But it's also nice to see people who just say, I want to use purple, but I want it to kind of blend into a look and be less of a standout, more of just a there happens to be purple situation. And I have this palette that I got a couple years ago for Christmas, and it's really nice. I just don't use it very often because I have too much makeup and I can't use all of it, but I'll go and I'll pull different palettes out for these comparisons and saying, oh, well, I like to use this palette for that and that palette for whatever. And then while I'm looking at it and being like, oh, this is a great palette for blah, I'm like, it is a great palette for blah, blah, blah. I should use it. And that's what I'm trying to encourage in myself right now. I have some conflicting feelings about purchases right now, and I'm figuring them out. So that's eyeshadow primer on. I'm going to use my Franken shade of base tone, which I hit pan in. Yeah, part of me wants to buy some makeup just to keep certain parts of the economy moving, saying, hey, I do have money for this. I'm more tempted to put it towards indie brands than like bigger brands, so that those small companies that were already kind of a bit of underdogs have a little extra cushion to make it through the impacts of lockdown and quarantine happening right now. But also, I'm a little conflicted on whether or not I should be spending anything at all, that I don't have to, because I really don't know if my position at my company is going to stay with the way things are going. If they choose to do layoffs, I might be one of the first people they pick because I am newer to the company. So, I don't want to go spending stuff trying to help the economy and then be in a bad place myself later when I don't have that for any of my own expenses. And do I really want to keep putting additional strains on stuff like the post office and packaging and all that could be put towards other things like shipping essential items like meds if you can't get to a pharmacy, or supplies that are out of stock in your area that are being transported by those supply chains, and Not that I know much about that situation at all, really, just conflicted feelings. So, trying to shop my stash. I'm going to put some of Laced in my crease, maybe a little bit of Suspend, depending on how deep it is. I don't remember these being very deep, but I just kind of want a little something in the crease to soften. Yeah. Kind of like the one yesterday. It's very, very light and it will take some building, but most of this palette is metallic, and I'm not a big fan of metallic in my crease. But in an attempt to do a one shadow look, I really shouldn't pull, or not a one shadow, a one palette look. If I'm trying to say shop your stash and do that, I shouldn't be pulling in a bunch of tones that you might not have, whereas this being an older palette, hopefully if you bought it, you still have it. And you can, I don't know, I feel like if you already had this palette, you might have been already in on using these tones, but maybe this is the thing that'll prompt you into using the purples, although I think you would have already. I don't know. I want to use it. If you have it and you want to pull it back out and do a purple look, this is what I'm trying to do. Yeah, because of the matte shades, it's got one very beigey shade, one gray beigey shade, and one super light bone shade of Anonymous, so it's not a lot to build up. It just kind of is the really softest wash of color. So, if you have deeper skin than me, this is probably not helping, but you can pull in any neutral crease and make a similar look. Or maybe you even have like a taupey mauve tone. That would be really nice for framing a purple look. If you have something like the Tartlet, the original one. I really like the cool toned purples in that for framing purple looks without being, you know, like a full-on lilac crease. So that's what we have for the crease. Let's do Freak Show, which is the darker purple. I don't really know if I want to put UV blue on the lower lash line or actually like in the middle, but I think with the lightness of this crease, I'm hoping to keep Freak Show on the outer third. And since this is an older eyeshadow palette, there is some fallout from these shimmers. They're not quite as moist. As they have been in the past. But yeah, putting it on the outer third. The big challenge for me will be keeping both eyes even, because somehow the way I place it on this eye never seems to line up right with this eye. Like, it always seems further out than I expect. And then when I try to like mirror the placement, it ends up too far in. It just probably has to do with the curvature of my eyes and the fact that my eyes are different shapes. I'm just gonna kind of smudge it in so there's a little bit for asphyxia to blend over. I'm gonna go ahead and pack a little bit more on that part I want nice and defined. And just hoping that later when I knock off all that fallout from under my eyes, it's gonna be easy to sweep away. Okay, so let's go in with asphyxia. and a different brush, which I feel like Asphyxia is the type of almost tonic style shade that Urban Decay was really popular for doing, of these kind of soft, muted colors with a little bit of flash. Like, the purple itself is not that special, but it does have a nice, almost different shade of purple iridescence on it. It really is just quite pretty. Allows it to really pop on top of Freak Show. So, we're gonna keep packing it out over Freak Show. Yeah, that's really pretty in my opinion. Oh. Okay, and then go in with a little leftover on Freak Show to make sure we don't fully lose that dark purple outer edge. I think I am, really quick, gonna kind of fluff out the crease. Allow a little bit of that Freak Show to blend and potentially deepen the crease. And then I'm going to run a bit of Freak Show out here. Oh, that's a lot of fallout. But then when I put some of UV blue on my lower lash line as I want to, it'll have something to tie into. So, let's pick up some UV blue on yet another brush. Why do I hear something happening in my driveway? Yeah, so it's not super strong, especially smudged out on the lower lash line, but it adds a little bit of something to define that lash line and make it a bit of a cohesive look. Ooh. And again, with the soft blending of the crease to make sure there's no weird patches. I think that turns out really nicely. I'm going to do a little bit more of Asphyxia. Just because they are older shadows. And I like it. I think that's very pretty. Now we get to do a little bit of Road Stripe, which is like a light blue iridescent shade. It's not a very strong pop, but again, if we're going for a more muted color anyway, it's the kind of highlight that only catches the light in certain angles. I know this is LS's like all-time favorite shadow, Road Stripe. And I get it, like if you want to do a bit of a pop, I had a, you can't see it super well, but it is there. I had a highlighter from Makeup Geek back in the day that was like that, and that it wasn't super shimmery, but it was slightly like matte iridescent. I don't know how to phrase it otherwise, but it was the kind of shade that didn't have a lot, but it did catch the light at very specific angles to kind of flash the tone. Where's my brush? Sorry, sweeping off Fallout now with my face powder. So yeah, the rest is just going to be my face. We're not doing a ton to kind of like tie in other colors. We're assuming, at least I'm assuming, the rest of the face would be pretty standard. So bronzer, blush, highlight within normalness. If we're trying to ease into color, you probably don't have very purple blushes to match to this. But yeah, I did have I think it was a Makeup Geek. It was like Phantom or something. That was in the pan, kind of a matte light purple, but then had like this really strong secret iridescent flash. That was very pretty, and before I got into more intense duochromes, was a really nice way to kind of like ease into it. Kind of like Road Stripe is a good way to ease into iridescent flash without it being too much. Yeah. It's the start of my second week of quarantine. I have been doing some reading, if I can finish it before I go back to work, and if I still have a job when we go back into work. Do you guys want to do a mini book club? I read one book, without really giving you guys any potential warning to jump in if you want to. If you want to read Horns from Joe Hill. It's over here. Yeah. I'm like just starting it, but Horns from Joe Hill. I'm going to be reading that over the next couple days. And if you all want to also read it and or reread it if you've already read it, and do a little bit of a mini book club / book review, that could be fun. That's what I'm gonna do either way. Because I have a shit ton of books that I finally have some of the time to read. Seems worth it. Ugh, we're getting close. It's getting there. I feel like I have some conflicting opinions about how fast I should hit pan in different things based on... Oh, I forgot to warm that up again. We got a little bit of time for it to warm up in my bra. Based on previous panning and like some of my other usage. Like I've had blushes I could use much more heavily than this, and it's making me a little impatient on this blush, which is not super helpful because I don't want to overdo my blush. And since I've been doing other eyeshadows than like my Franken shadows, it's harder to see that progress on them. But like that one tiny pan is going to take so long to spread out because I can see how deep the rest of it is. That just happened to be a piece that dislodged and showed me pan, not is like really close. Hold on, I'll show you what I'm comparing it to. Comparing that to like hitting pan on my face powder, where I had already made a nice big scoop of usage, and now it's just chipping away the outer edges in a ever-increasing circle. The blush is not there yet, but I want it to be there yet, and some of the past things that I've used up in a way that had faster usage, like using eyeshadows every day, or using one eyeshadow in every single look, gets a lot of usage on it. But if I do stuff like this, where I keep switching out different products for my eyes, I don't see that usage as much, and with blush and bronzer being so much bigger, volume-wise, a product, even if I'm putting it on a bigger part of my face, it's not necessarily going to go as fast as some of the other things I've panned. Or like since I've been switching up my highlighter and stuff, that's not going as fast either. But I've also had things where I just wore the same makeup day after day after day for months, and that had a ton of usage on the pans. And I've been switching stuff up because I'm home and available to switch stuff up with my look that is not allowing me to see as much usage, and it's really weird in that I'm like, I should just have a bunch of usage. No. Yes, I'm using makeup more than I have day to day than over the last year, so I should have some usage. But if I'm using different things, I'm going to have different amounts of usage than back when I was like panning one look. Especially if some of the stuff I'm panning is like an eyeshadow for brows. That's going to take a long time, especially because the pan I'm using is bigger, darker, and more firmly pressed than some of the eyeshadows I've used for brows in the past. It just is more, and I'm not using as much. So, it's nice that I'm getting to use my makeup. It's fun to use parts of my makeup like eyeshadows and stuff that I haven't used in a long time, but it's also a little bit conflicting with my goals to use more product more quickly. And I think I shaved my brows a little wrong. Not that I shouldn't have shaved my brows, just I shaved like down that way as opposed to down that way. So I left a thicker tail to my brow than I think I intended, and I don't have like the pomades or pencils to fill in the tip the way I potentially would have wanted to if I was going to leave the tip fully bare. So like that's where my hair stops. You can see how much thicker it is than if I tapered it out. So now I have to try and like drag the eyeshadow over certain areas. It's just not super convincing, in my opinion. So, probably going to keep shaving the tips of my brows, but with a different strategy. Because you can see that tip is not believable. Now let's see if that brow thing I have does anything for it. It didn't really last time, but we're going to do it anyway. Just see if we can, I don't know, add some depth to that last little tail bit. Kind of. It's not my favorite, but that's what happens when you experiment. You get new things. And if I had a pomade, I could probably make the tip do what I was aiming for, which was shooping straight out as opposed to more of an arch like my brows actually grow. That's not horrible. You might be seeing and thinking it's absolutely horrible, but it's not horrible in my opinion. I am, in my in my opinion, making some good progress on this. I've used it a couple times. I think within the next week, if I really dig in, I could finish Blue Moon, which is what I'm going to use today to kind of blend in with everything. I'm going to mix Blue Moon and Blue Ice like I've been doing, because I think they make a nice mix of like purple tones and proper lightness. I think Blue Moon is just a touch deeper than I potentially want to use on its own lately. Again, these are all still pretty light, but I think Blue Ice does a good job of really adding iridescence. And hopefully ties into the blue and purple tones on my eyes. Whew. I do that, I put extra spray on when I think that I have older, more powdery eyeshadows. They're not as likely to adhere to the primer. So, it is, in my opinion, a very pretty look. I do need to figure out what I'm going to do for the rest of the week, because I keep going back and forth between, like, I have neutrals I could use, I could do all these things. I'm like, I also have the option to do ridiculous makeup for a while, and other people might actually be also tempted to use more color because a lot of people are working from home and don't have their normal restrictions and aren't going out in public and being scared of the way people might interact with them changing their look. I feel like now's the time to do fun stuff, but also I have a lot of makeup. It's hard to think of more and more things to do when I don't have a specific goal. Like, the quest for blue is still ongoing. I think I've kind of found some of my favorite ways to involve blue. Oh no. Oh no. Like, I knew I really liked a metallic navy blue on the outer half. Mascara gets really annoying when you have a specific way you want your lashes to sit, and you have to keep going back and forth to make them sit the way you want them to. So yeah, we'll scrape that off in a second once it dries. If you get mascara on your eyeshadow and you let it dry, you can scratch it off. I normally don't care enough to, just because I know I'm not perfect. I know my makeup is not magical makeup artist style, so this is me attempting to do that thing I was talking about yesterday, where I mimic the angle I'm holding the wand at on both eyes for potential lash matching, and then giving up. Ambidextrous people, have you ever tried to hold the mascara wand and alternate in hand, so like the angle on your right and the angle on your left are the same? Does that make your your lashes match better? Tell me your secrets. Yeah, so I know I like the look of a navy metallic shadow on the outer corner of my eye. I'm adjusting to liking more concentrated blue crease that kind of just pokes out as opposed to being like really, really big. I do like light iridescent blue on the inner half. I like blue framing purple and purple framing blue. I don't mind blue as like a pop of color on the lower lash line. I don't always think it's the most cohesive if it's not tying into something up top. Like I wouldn't just put like a vibrant blue lash line on something that didn't have blue tones in the top half of the lid. What am I doing? I only did one coat. Why am I trying to stop my lashes early? So yeah, I don't know where else I really want to take blue. Like I could do more blue smoky eyes. But I'm not sure that's really a quest for blue look of trying to adjust to how I like blue eyeshadow on myself so much as a do I like smoky eyes on myself? Which the answer is not really. I like darker outer corners. I feel like it is one of the ways I like my face framed more than like a full smoky dark all around my eye type look. But that's just personal preference. Yeah, I don't really know other, like I feel like I've done a lot of the ways that I could use blue and sort of just wearing it more often to get used to it. I don't really know what else I would do with blue eyeshadow. I feel like these two are kind of like my favorite ways to wear blue eyeshadow is a two-toned blue lid. Probably my favorite. What lipstick do we want to wear? We'll use a very easy one. We'll use this Honesty from Bare Minerals that I don't really like, but is a soft, you know, approachable pink. See, it's just not very opaque. And some of that is probably because I have this type of a tone in other lipsticks, but for doing a muted face to go into some kind of matching the more approachable, work appropriate, dipping your toe into purple kind of a look, Alaska Pow lipstick matches the aesthetic that I was going for. I know, I keep going back and forth trying to get it to build up, and it's just not going to because it is a more sheer formula. We're going to real quick brush off that. So you wait for it to dry, and then you just kind of go meep, and scratch off it lightly. You don't want to leave, like, scratch a hole in your eyeshadow, but if you just kind of brush over it softly, it will just kind of go away. Sometimes you might need to pack some more eyeshadow over the area, but most of the time you can just get rid of it. So, I know, you guys are very annoyed by the jingling, I'm sure. I think this was successful. I think we did a very nice, soft, dipping your toe into purple type look. I get the appeal of these. I just think that for something that is this sheer, I'd rather it be a gloss. I don't want to put on a stick lipstick and put all the effort into all of that when this amount of sheer coverage could just be a gloss. And if you have an old eyeshadow palette that you want to pull out, this is a look you could do if you have not already done this look from this palette, which I feel like a lot of people would have. But yeah, I like it. You really can't see Road Stripe very well on camera, but it's a nice pop of blue in person. And try some more color, try some things. I will see you guys later. I don't really know if I'm gonna film anything this afternoon, and let me know what you want to see over the next couple days, because I still have a lot of makeup, and if I'm going to film looks, I feel like they should be new and interesting looks, or maybe using formulas that I haven't done on camera yet, but I also don't really know what I want to do. I have too much, and I guess I could. We could try and do something with this tomorrow. Natasha Denona Mini Lila palette. It's pretty. Or I have more neutral singles from not so neutral companies. I have Cliana. I made a little, like, neutral, approachable, if I was going to do a neutral look with some of my Cliana shadows, these are the ones I would use, and I really kind of want to use Parchment. It looks really pretty and grungy, and these are things that popped out of other color stories that were not as neutral, so finding the neutrals in the not neutral bundles. But yeah, if you guys want to read Horns, I will read Horns, and then we can talk about it. I might even rewatch the movie, which I haven't seen in quite a while. And hopefully this is helping you use more color, use more of your products, find some new ways to use what you already have, or you're just going to be looking at me like, yeah, obviously everybody knows how to do that purple look, Ellen. Of course. This is nothing new. I know it's nothing new, but I think it's pretty. I'll see you guys next time.